Our featured speaker for this opening ceremony really needs little introduction. His credentials as the able and insightful leader of our country are now well established and widely accepted. However, the protocol of the occasion has given me the opportunity, honor and pleasure to present him to you. When he took over the mantle of leadership of our country in October 2010, he had already distinguished himself as a scholar, a legal luminary, and yes, an astute politician. He started his working life as a teacher of history and Spanish, and in 1975 graduated from the University of the West Indies with a Bachelor of Arts degree with honors in political science and history. In 1977, he entered the Faculty of Law of the University of the West Indies, graduating in 1980 with the Bachelor of Laws degree, again with honors. Between 1980 and 1982, he read for the Masters of Laws degree in Public International Law. From 1982 to 1984, he read for a legal education certificate at the Hugh Wooding Law School and was admitted to the Bar of Barbados. He practiced as a defense lawyer from 1984 until January 2008, and his outstanding performance led to him being designated as a Queen's Counsel in 2008, while he served as this country's Attorney General. Earlier this year, he was honored by the British government with the designation the Right Honourable. Throughout his period in office, he has piloted the affairs of our country through the most severe international economic depression of the modern era, and has done so with wisdom, vision, and determination. Barbados' reputation as a well-managed economy and society remains intact, largely because of his leadership. I believe we can now understand why we can expect a thoughtful and inspiring address this morning. So without any further comment, allow me to present to you our featured speaker, the Right Honourable Frundel Stuart, QC, MP, Prime Minister of Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand.
Master of Ceremonies, Lord Chief Justice, members of the Cabinet, including, of course, the distinguished Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, members of both Houses of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, heads and seniors of Barbados' missions abroad and senior public servants, executives and other members of the business community, representatives of sponsors of the Barbados Network Consultation, exhibitors at the Consultation, registrants and other participants of the BNC, including moderators and chairpersons, fellow Barbadians and friends of Barbados, both locally based or residing overseas, and in particular, those who have journeyed from Panama and from Cuba. Staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and other government departments, staff of Barbados Conference Services here at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government and people of Barbados, I extend a warm welcome to all the delegates, exhibitors, and sponsors and presenters participating in the 3rd biennial Barbados Network Consultation. I especially remind the delegates from our diaspora that under the leadership of the late David Thompson, Prime Minister from 2008 to 2010, the government made a commitment to give recognition to the enormous contribution made by Barbadians of the diaspora to the development of Barbados, and to embrace them fully on the chosen pathways to prosperity and development. In his first budget speech in July 2008, the then Prime Minister committed the new government to establishing a unit for overseas Barbadians called the Barbados Network. Committed it to reviewing the incentives given for their participation in the development of Barbados, with a view to enhancing them and removing some unnecessary restrictions, including those relating to the terms and conditions attached to relocating to Barbados. He committed the government to creating a bond to encourage the investment of foreign exchange by Barbados networkers, to develop a comprehensive Barbados networkers data bank, and to hosting a biennial Barbados network consultation starting as soon as possible. That policy of unity between Barbadians at home and Barbadians in the diaspora through the Barbados network consultation began in 2010, and the active involvement of the diaspora is even more needed today. We're living through an era of fundamental change. Barbadians at home and abroad have frequently been bombarded with sensational and alarmist stories, creating doubt about the stability of our society and about our resilience and innate capacity to ride out those crises with which we have had to deal from time to time. I want to welcome you, therefore, as loyal Barbadians who have continued to believe in Barbados. I thank you for the excellent work that you've been doing in the Barbadian diaspora, scattered across nearly every continent, but with significant concentrations in the Americas and in Europe. Indeed, nearly every month, we get a request from one of your organizations for a congratulatory message from me as you celebrate decades of service to Barbadians at home and abroad. I'm sure that you will agree with me when I affirm that within a matter of 6 years, we have established the David Thompson legacy of treating the Barbadian diaspora as an integral part of the economic, social, and cultural development of Barbados. With respect to cultural development, of course, Barbadians of the diaspora have for years been fully integrated into the annual Crop Over Festival in Barbados and in related festivals abroad, such as the Notting Hill Carnival in London, Labor Day celebrations in New York, and Caribana in Toronto. You can understand, therefore, why the days preceding the consultation were set aside for you to participate in this year's Crop Over festivities. As you re-embrace your home and seek to reconnect to the cultures, we have endeavored to remove the remaining causes of hassle and frustration for those who wish to relocate to Barbados. For example, from April 1st, 2014, Barbadian networkers who have lived abroad and who satisfy the necessary criteria and are resettling in Barbados can purchase duty-free vehicles in Barbados. This creates, of course, a win-win situation for all. The number one priority, however, has been to get you more involved in the economic development of Barbados. The Barbadian Family and Friends Club, which was launched in July 2009 by the Barbados Tourism Authority, is achieving some spectacular results. More and more Barbadians of the diaspora are responding positively to the incentives offered to encourage family, friends, and acquaintances to spend their holidays in Barbados. This has undoubtedly helped to sustain tourism, which is the premier industry of Barbados. In my addresses to you in 2010 and again in 2012, I made it clear that this prolonged global downturn is a wake-up call to the people of small open economies like Barbados, and is an invitation to us to become more innovative and entrepreneurial. The technological revolution at the beginning of the 21st century, the financial crises in the USA and Europe from 2007, followed by the most sustained economic reversal in nearly 100 years, have shaken up the old world order. More important, these changes have led to the emergence of new powers such as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS so-called, which have the capacity to produce all the standard goods and services that are in demand in the global marketplace. During this period also, countries like Barbados, which have depended on a tourism that drew on the discretionary income of citizens of England and the United States of America, received a double blow. First, our primary sources of foreign exchange from tourism began to dry up because tourists could no longer afford to go on long distance and long stay holidays. Second, we faced an even stronger threat of competition and even the outsourcing of traditional jobs as workers in the new workshops and offices of the world began to produce and deliver goods and services more efficiently and more cheaply than before. The need to spend vast amounts of our limited foreign reserves on imported food and fossil fuels, to sustain high levels of employment in the public sector, and to provide a range of social and welfare benefits to our beloved citizens and residents, placed an acute burden on our fiscal situation, which we have been forced to stabilize. As has been the case in the countries from which members of our diaspora have come, we in Barbados have had to put corrective measures in place to prevent a worsening of our economic condition. We've expended much effort since 2008 to improve the environment for doing business in Barbados, to provide stimuli to key sectors of the economy, and to restructure the economy overall. I speak, for example, of the Hotel Refurbishment, Energy Efficiency and Food Production Fund for the tourist sector. This would include also the concessions given to Sandiford that have already resulted in massive investments by that company in St. Lawrence Gap, and plans to purchase and upgrade the Ammon Beach Club in St. Peter. These concessions have since been extended to the entire tourism sector. In addition to this, we've sought to revive agriculture by establishing a $20 million fund for use in the sector, and have facilitated access to this fund for agribusinesses. A new factory to produce alternative energy from sugarcane is in the pipeline. We've also set a target to generate over 20% of the island's electricity from alternative energy sources, and generally help to develop a green economy with a $100 million injection of financial assistance. Now, a careful study of our history shows that every 60 years or so, Barbados goes through the birth pangs of a new era, which normally lasts for about 2 generations. I lived through the watershed, the last watershed, when young Barbadians turned their backs on plantation and other menial work, as they regarded it, and swarmed through Bridgetown, seeking education to equip them for decent white-collar careers. Initially, parents had to find innovative ways of paying the school fees, but they succeeded to the extent that several private secondary schools, established by educational entrepreneurs, sprung up to meet the demand. Then from 1962, the provision of universal free secondary education and increasing access to free tertiary education enabled young Barbadians to get more and more qualifications and to secure the wide variety of jobs made available by their diversification efforts across the economy of our country. The transition to a new era has been forced by the current downturn. We now realize that a new zeitgeist, a new spirit of the age, has been released since 2008. It is the spirit of innovation and enterprise. Objective analysis has led to the conclusion that in the global village in which there are large, powerful players, small economies can only survive and prosper by spotting opportunities in the niches of the global economy and capitalizing on those opportunities. We cannot compete with Brazil or South Africa in providing tourism products based on just sun and sea. But what we can certainly do is to diversify our tourism product with heritage, cultural and sporting components that are unique to Barbados. We can also diversify the entire economy by producing goods and services that would obviate the need to import fossil fuels, costly mass-produced food that contributes to chronic non-communicable diseases and a host of other cravings. It is for these reasons that we spared no effort to obtain the designation by UNESCO of historic Bridgetown and its garrison as a World Heritage Site in the year 2011. It is for these reasons that we passed the Cultural Industries Development Act in 2013. It is for these reasons that we have sought to empower communities to foster community tourism. That is why we've been trying to revive agriculture through mechanization and vertical integration with finished products such as the delicious Bajan dishes to be found in local high-end restaurants and hopefully also to be exported. And it is also the reason why we have been focusing on the production of renewable energy, not only for heating water, but also for lighting up schools, businesses, and public sector buildings, and driving our machines. Ladies and gentlemen, you are major stakeholders in this transformation of our economy, and by extension, of our society. To me, the role that you have to play is clear. I should like you to take a leaf out of the book of previous waves of migrants from Barbados. I take this opportunity to acknowledge that wave of Barbadian workers who migrated to Panama in the decades leading up to the completion of the Panama Canal in the year 1914. Over 30,000 Barbadian workers and an even larger number of their dependents helped to build the magnificent structure that breached the isthmus which separated two oceans. In that connection, I strongly recommend that you read, and if you've done so already, reread Professor Belman Newton's books, The Silver Men and Panama Connection Revisited. The remittances of these Panama migrants had a tremendous effect on the social and economic development of Barbados. Professor Newton and other scholars have shown that these remittances enabled Barbadians, who for decades had been trapped in chattel houses on tenantry land, to purchase their own land, build more substantial housing, set up small businesses, and even pool their resources to purchase plantations on the west coast of Barbados. In this, the centenary of the completion of the Panama Canal, I salute the descendants of these skilled and enterprising Barbadians who still identify with their ancestral homeland, and some of whom are with us this morning. In that regard, today I recognize the presence of 13 Panamanians of Barbadian descent here with us for the second time, and I recognize in particular Mrs. Sheila Wilkinson, a pillar of support to our Panama outreach over the years, accompanied of course by her father, 93-year-old Walter Clark. In this group, there are 3 persons whose fathers were born in Barbados, first-generation Panamanians of Barbadian origin. I know that, not to be outdone, of course, the following groups are also here. The Barbados Association of Bermuda, Barbados House, Montreal, the National Association of Barbados Organizations, USA, NABO, the National Council of Barbadian Associations, Canada, Barbados Ball, Canada, and the Barbadian descendant community in Cuba that also has a story to tell. Similarly, the remittances from North America and Britain have for years been bolstering our economy, and among other things, have stimulated a housing revolution across the island over the years. Unlike in the past, plantation houses are no longer the most palatial edifices in Barbados. So these waves of Barbadian migrants responded vigorously to the major challenges of their age. This is now your time, and you know what the challenge is. I repeat, this is the age of innovation and entrepreneurship. Barbados needs your positive response. The program for this consultation includes a series of exhibitions, discussions, and experiences to expose you to a wide range of goods, services, and ideas that will hopefully get your creative juices flowing. The messages from these various sessions and exhibitions are very clear. They all relate to the fact that this downturn and the changes it has triggered offers enterprising Barbadians at home and abroad several pathways to prosperity. To start with, I want you to reflect carefully on the Kokora Festival to see what business opportunities it is suggested to you, whether in goods or in services. Can you see the production and export of these unique goods and services taking more Barbadians along the pathways to prosperity? Trade and investment are essential means to economic growth in Barbados, and your investment, whether continuing or potential, is important to us. Now is a good time to invest in Barbados and help entrepreneurs to link Barbados to its diaspora in mutually beneficial ways, and in so doing, create employment and also create wealth. You might wish to pay particular attention, therefore, to the pathways to trade and investment exhibits and discussions. Let us seek out the technology pathways to economic development. How can we help our young people with an aptitude for information and communication technology earn a living from what they enjoy doing most? Let us together explore how we as a people can benefit not only emotionally but also economically from the exhibit's insights and opportunities to be drawn from the family history workshops. Closely aligned to these family history workshops are the pathways to resettlement, the building of connectivity across generations, and the sharing of a common, highly prized Barbadian status. As we did in the past, let's see how Barbadians at home and abroad can capitalize on the pathways to and from Panama. Taking us further afield to where it all started are the pathways to doing business in Africa. As you know, Barbados has one of the most effective Pan-African commissions in the African diaspora. This commission has assembled evidence which suggests that the next wave of Barbadian emigrants is likely to be to West Africa. The fact that Nigeria's economy is about to overtake that of South Africa as the largest in Africa, and the fact that the economy of Ghana is one of the fastest growing economies in the world substantiate this prediction. Let me remind you that the exciting but realistic messages from these workshops are aimed also at values. They include the noble practice of giving something back to families, to communities, and to those less fortunate than ourselves. The pathways to philanthropy and related assistance show how best this can be done. I am particularly touched by the proposal of networkers to provide a hospice and general palliative care for victims of cancer and a range of chronic non-communicable diseases. For me, however, a most vital and critical pathway is the one that leads to safe, sound, secure, and rewarding investment. Despite the fact that Barbados has established several institutions to help potential entrepreneurs move from the conception of business ideas to the implementation and success of their ventures, several budding business entrepreneurs complain about the lack of capital to finance their enterprises. They claim that the difficulty in accessing adequate investment financing from established financial institutions prevents them from implementing their business plans. And those who persevere end up with business projects that are grossly undercapitalized. Hence the high failure rates of micro enterprises and small businesses. Well, we have been pondering on how best we can help. We've been giving considerable thought to the creation of financial instruments that are attractive to networkers at home and abroad, and which would lead to greater uptake of instruments issued by the government. The goal is to raise foreign exchange capital from Barbadians resident abroad and from external holdings of residents of Barbados, and to leverage these resources to support local economic development initiatives. This would be done through a series of initiatives that include more effective marketing and the provision of government guarantees of safe, reliable, and attractive rates of return. These instruments, which include what is envisaged as the Barbados National Development Network of Bond, are still being designed. The details will be discussed at this consultation, and you will most certainly have an opportunity to make your input. Let me end where I started. We are all in this Barbadian pool together. We either swim together or we'll sink separately. Let us strengthen the network by literally and metaphorically holding hands to stay afloat. Let us build and strengthen contacts at home and abroad. Let us make this consultation a turning point in the present challenging economic circumstances which have lasted unbearably long, both in Barbados and the countries in which you now reside. I must pay special tribute to the excellent presenters, the innovative exhibitors, and the committed persons, committed sponsors, who have shown that their commitment equals that of the government. I compliment the Minister and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and other government ministries and departments for what can be aptly described as a labor of love. All of the delegates can therefore look forward to a most successful and rewarding 2014 Barbados Network Consultation here at our Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. Let us show the world that we are indeed one nation, one family, building pathways to prosperity and development. God bless you. God bless Barbados.